the Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the war room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the hot block commander. How you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Roll with the topic, sorta like the rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated. What up, though, B?
What's going on, everybody out there in War Room Nation? Welcome to another edition of War in the War Room, brought to you, of course, by War Room Sports on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan. I'm at the round table with my brother B. Austin. What up, B?
What a guan.
What a guan. Jimmy should join us in just a few. Look, man, the NBA All-Star Weekend is over, so it's time for the final stretch of the NBA season. So make sure you keep it locked right here as we talk about that and everything else in the world of sports. And if you want to get in on the conversation, as usual, make sure you sign in right now to the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or you could join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly in about 5 minutes when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, make sure that during the week when we're not live on the air, you check out archive episodes of our show at warroomsports.com, the War Room Sports mobile app, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google, and most other places you do your podcast listening. What up, Kings? Before we get started, definitely want to give a shout-out, to everybody we call brother and sister shows. Shout out to the Broad Street Line, Roy and Chris. What up? Shout out to the Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show, the homies Phil Maddock and Savad. What up? John Appetit. You know who you are. If you're down with War Room Sports, you're down with us. What up, B? Yo, before we get started, man, give me your thoughts on this Jussie Smollett thing, man. This thing has gotten way out of hand. Money has now been charged and arrested. What's the deal, man?
We keep it 100. We keep it 1,000,000 here in the War Room. And so I will offer this disclaimer. My views, of course, are not necessarily representative of War Room, the company, nor my co-hosts. So I will dive in and hopefully we do not get taken off the air and thrown in the pit of the unfortunate forever. Yo.
How far do you think will set us back? He done set the civil rights movement back. He done set the gay rights movement back.
Yo, he done set the gay rights. I feel as though there are some folks in that community, and there's some in all communities, but in that community in particular where it's always about them. It's always, they have to be the center of attention. Even if you want to put this off and say that he was doing something to bring about a change or a just, This was one of the more ultimate selfish acts that I've ever seen, because you took the movement that you claim to be a part of, both movements, and essentially derailed them and took away from them with that selfishness in your act, because you got to be the center of attention.
Yeah, he already got 45 tweeting. He already got him tweeting So it's like he puffing out his chest now. Now every time somebody says something happened in the name of MAGA, you know, it's going to be like crying wolf. Nobody believes it anymore. So,
yeah.
And you know how it is in this country. It only takes one time. You know what I'm saying? For them to act like nothing ever happens. Yeah, he
needs to get roofed for this one. This is beyond the JoJo, but we'll give him JoJo.
He need to get roofed. Yeah, man, it's amazing. I mean, because the reports keep coming out, and they're like it keeps going down and down every time. Now that he's been charged, they're saying that this whole thing was about his salary. He said at Empire. Like, how did you figure you were going to give a false police report about getting attacked on the streets of Chicago? How'd you figure that was going to get you a raise on Empire? Not really sure what dude was thinking, man, but he's setting all kinds of movements back. But shout out to Jussie, man. I guess, you know, people would have, had he been successful, I guess this would have been the new twist. People go out there and fake beatdowns to get what they want in this life. But let's get into some hot topics real quick, man. Hot topics, as usual, brought to you guys by MyBookie. Real quick before we get into them, let's talk about how much dough you can make betting on sports at MyBookie. The NBA and NHL seasons are into their post-All-Star stretches, so if you haven't checked out MyBookie, this is a great time for you to do just that. Lay down some dough on the biggest games in sports. Just join War Room and thousands of other online players placing bets at mybookie.ag. Not .com, not .net, but mybookie.ag. You guys tired of getting a runaround from those other services when it's time for a payout? That's why we urge you to join MyBookie. You win, they pay fast and without any hassles. You're wasting your time sports betting anywhere else. They even have in-game live betting that me and B are still trying to figure out how the hell this goes on. So you can place wagers after the game start. If you think that's crazy, join now, and MyBookie will match your first deposit with a 100% bonus. You heard that right, 100%. Just use promo code, all caps, WARROOM, WARROOM, to activate this offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. Play, win, and get paid. Period. All right, B, let's talk a little NFL real quick. Because earlier in the week, before all the All-Star festivities, we got the announcement that Colin Kaepernick and the NFL settled his collusion case, he and Eric Reid's collusion case. They never actually publicized the exact details on it, but the rumors are that he may have gotten anywhere between $60 and $80 million for settling this collusion case. What's your thoughts on this whole thing now that it's over?
Oh man, that feeling that I had about Malcolm Jenkins. It might be 10. It might increase exponentially towards. I need answers. I need explanations.
I was wondering if y'all was going to keep that same energy, B, because there's a lot of people out there who are not keeping that same energy. There's a lot of people out there who smash Malcolm Jenkins and are praising the ever-living hell out of Colin Kaepernick. I was wondering if y'all were going to keep that same energy. But why do you say that?
I don't ever fit with the masses. I don't care what they feel. I need answers at a level where like, I feel like this whole thing is for naught and will be deceitful because, first of all, from the gate, the MAGA folks have taken and hijacked your cause and purpose and turned it into something else. So now the fact that you can be bought and purchased means that we're like 3 levels away from what your stated intention was in the first place. And with the country and the state that it presently is, yo, yeah, man. I was at Brother Malcolm's throat. Listen, man, I need answers, man. You've been saying that Cap has to speak up about whether he wants to play or not. I'm saying Cap has to speak out and speak up on what he actually stands for, man. The Nike deal was one thing. I gave it a pass. I'm like, look, man, go get your duffel bag. Go get your dough, little duffel bag boy. I was cool with that. But this, from them, from the slave masters, yo.
And this is my thing right here. Settlement kind of seems kind of suspect because I thought the whole point was to expose these guys. Settlement allows them to never have to admit that was exactly what they were doing.
Big boss.
Right, but it also doesn't take them to court. It doesn't force them to have to uncover a lot of the inner secrets that would have come out in a trial, you know what I'm saying, throughout this collusion case. My thinking was he would have won the thing either way, so I don't understand, why you end up settling. I don't know, but there's a lot of people out there that's not keeping that same energy, and this is different because Malcolm Jenkins was allocated money to causes. None of this money, all the jokes we had, because I was in on the jokes as well, but none of this money went right to this dude. None of this money went to his pockets. This is pocket money for Cap. Now, knowing Cap and what he is, I'm pretty sure nice portions of this money will go to something and somewhere that would help. And as I'm saying, I'm not knocking it. I'm just worried about everybody else out there keeping that same energy when this dude who didn't even get personal checks written out to him was getting smashed for being a sellout. And it's just weird to me. It's weird.
To me, the way that I look at things, and I'm probably on the left side of extreme on this, but I already feel like one of the reasons that black people, as 12 to 15% of the population, but 90% of the culture purveyors, creators, and curators will never, ever, ever reach balance in the United States of America is because we don't value our own causes or our own culture or our own humanity enough to demand what is due anyway. And if you can be bought, no matter how much that purchase price is, you're worth less than the folks that are paying that money out. It doesn't matter what it is. And so for me, we're always quick to forgive. We're always quick to allow others to dictate. We're always quick. This is a smack in the face to me on a level that I don't believe most people will look at it for what it is. I don't. This is why we are third class and will remain third class forever. And I know that some folks will say it's not that deep and you're going off on a tangent. But whenever, like they can still murder us. The people that are on the air of this podcast, one of us can be killed, and in theory, there's at least a 50-50 shot that if the murderer is a member of the police force, he'll get away with it. It's a 50. Is it fair to say it's a 50-50 shot? My man stood up against that. They hijacked it and said, no, that's not what it is. And now they buy him off. They give him some millions for his silence, for his admission. It's too much for me. I'm taking it where I'm probably taking it where it doesn't need to go, but that's where it is for me.
But listen, here's my thought. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a lot of pushback when people were talking like that about Malcolm Jenkins. Now, what I will say in Kaepernick's defense, okay, if you make a collusion case against the multi-billion-dollar a year business that is the NFL, it's about money. Like you're doing that to get money. The only thing about what he got and how he got it, that kind of, I'm not even going to say bothers me, that kind of puzzles me, that I want answers about, is the fact that he took it in a settlement. That's the only thing, because, if you're doing a collusion case, it's about money. So nobody can really be mad that he got money, ultimately, because there's no other, like the NFL is not going to jail, so that's not that kind of court case. You're suing them for money. My only thing is that he did not take it all the way, because if he's supposed to be the face of this movement, and everybody out there who felt that the NFL was somehow liable and culpable in this movement, remember, I had pushback about all that as well. But I'm talking to the people out there who thought that. If you thought that the NFL was somehow liable and culpable in this movement, then you take the suit all the way because you want to expose something. You want their dirty secrets to come out, but you allowed them to buy their dirty secrets back. Because I heard through a lot of the legal pundits, that there was going to be a lot of dirty NFL secrets to come out over this case.
You and I are cut from a different cloth, and so this conversation is almost like a Wu-Tang album. Don't nobody know what Wu-Tang is really rapping about. It just sounds fly. They know what they're rapping about. And so, and I stand by the fact that Ghost and Ray had the flyest lines ever, and I don't know what they were talking about, but I love them. So
ironically, you say that because I was in my Wu-Tang bag today, and you're right. I know. I was jamming. And I'll stick up for them as lyricists any day of the week, but I don't know what the hell they talking about.
I don't be knowing. Salamander Green.
Capadonna.
You said over the slope. I don't know what that means. But anyway, that's the point that I'm making, and I'm saying I know where you stand as a human being and to what great lengths we will both go to be right, and so it sticks in my craw. Because when you settle, that's someone saying, I'm giving you money to go away. I don't have to admit that I ever was wrong or did something wrong or what. That's just, hey, I can't abide by it.
There's people out there. Now, and this is not us. This is definitely not us. If we love somebody to death, we're going to tell you their shortcomings. And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? If we hate somebody's guts, we're going to be able to admit to you something that they do well. That's just the way it is. But
quarterback of all time, and he can't play quarterback.
Right. But you also know that it's probably, and this is a Poma stat, but 8 out of 10 people don't operate that way. So once you pick a side, because our society is all about picking sides, no matter what the issue. Once you pick a side, that side can do no wrong, and you're going to defend that side tooth and nail. So there's people out there that's saying, Kaepernick won over the NFL because he got this money, but these are the same people who called the other dude a sellout because he took some funds for some organizations that he probably still ain't even get yet, so he probably got smashed anyway. So I don't know. That's the only part I don't understand. There's a lot of people, like I said, we're in a side-picking society here. Look at our political system. You know what I'm saying? You pick a side, that side can ruin your life, but you're still going to defend it. Like Trump and his policies out here ruining some of his voters' lives. But if you say something about it to them, they're going to smash you in the name of Trump. That's just how it is here in America. And everybody feels the need to take a side on everything. So I see a lot of people out there who speak, in revolutionary tone earlier when everything was going on, but now they're defending this decision, now that it's done. And I don't understand it, because I really thought that the purpose of it was to expose some NFL secrets. Shout out to Neil in the chat room, because she reminded me that Nike once again, with their timing, are capitalizing off of Colin Kaepernick and his situation again, because as soon as that was announced a couple days later, they had these black Kaepernick jerseys on sale, and they've sold out so far. So, Nike doing their thing. I guess they need some money to get some better better
shoes for Zion.
I'm about to say some better materials to make some shoes for the Incredible Hulk over there at Duke. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Skyview says Kaepernick won. Bottom line, the goal in the suit is reparations. Check. What? Now to get signed with a team other than the Washington Professional Football Team. I say Skyview. Like I said, I've seen people all day who think like that. I don't know how you felt about the Malcolm Jenkins situation. All I'm saying is if you were on the Malcolm Jenkins as a sellout train, then you're not being honest with yourself right now. If you didn't think that, then you're being consistent. I ain't got nothing to say to you. But there was a whole lot of Malcolm Jenkins sold out, this and that. And then when Kaepernick does the same thing in a settlement, and that's what I want people to understand from me. Like I explained earlier, if you just got here late, the only thing I'm puzzled about is the fact that he settled. Collusion suit, yes. The ultimate prize in that is money. It's a monetary thing. But if you settle, then you're letting them off the hook. So what was it all for? Is my question. If they get to pay you and you get to go away with some non-disclosure agreement saying, none of the evidence you had can be public knowledge right now, then I really don't understand what he won besides, personal gain. And if that's your thing, fine. But there's a lot of other people making Colin Kaepernick into something, even though he's been like your man Mute with his whole situation in San Antonio. Like, we all just had to speculate because he never said anything the whole time. Colin Kaepernick never said anything the whole time. We're just assuming he's this, and we're making him into this, hopefully, for the right reasons. Not sure.
No,
we'll see. It'll unfold. Maybe one day we can get Dude back in front of a camera, and he can kind of let everybody know what's going on. Eric Reed got a little bit of that money too. After he just signed his new deal, he got some of this. I don't know what his percentage was in this collusion case, but he got some of that money too. And he was at the forefront of being Mr. Angry. Tried to put his hands on Malcolm Jenkins. So we'll see how this all shakes out. But I'm glad, B, that you're puzzled about it as well. At least I'm not alone in that.
I'm a little bit more than puzzled. I think my man sold out.
I'm puzzled. You might be a little bit pissed until you get an explanation on this. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We got a couple of people on the lines real quick. We will start out with the homie Tobias out in Arizona. Tobias, what's going on? You in the war room?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What up?
Colin
I'm a screen team.
There we go.
Screen team.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, I'm curious to get Tobias's. I'm curious to get your opinion on this as well, because you were smashing Malcolm Jenkins a lot. Are you upset with Colin Kaepernick for settling, or are you good? He won.
Well, Colin Kaepernick dumped Nessa for a white woman, Tommy Lahren. Now we got a problem. But
oh God.
But here's the thing. I think that there's a couple of things with this. I do believe Malcolm Jenkins is the black guy that white people prop up because he makes them feel comfortable. I also because white people keep. No, I'm not saying that.
Or you're saying he purposely makes them is he a black dude who just carries himself in a non-threatening way, or do you think he purposely carries himself that way so he could be non-threatening?
What I think is that they're let me what the heck this thing? Oh, turn this thing off real quick. But there are black people out there when you fight for social justice and everything. There are some that keep trying to say, well, let's get into their hearts and minds and let's see how we are worthy as human beings and all that, which hasn't worked. But I also believe Kaepernick never intended for all of this. I'm just being honest about it. And
I agree with that.
I believe, I believe this is. I believe all of this like the case.
He's accepted it.
Yeah, and see, my thing is that my thing is that like, cause one, if like a lot of people aren't meant to be out in front of these issues. They're more like actors that say, "Hey, I'll donate some money. Here you go. You be out in front of it." Because you already know you ain't making money fight for black people. I don't care what nobody says. Hell, Umar Johnson had his school at the Fire Festival of Schools. But
hey man, Umar finally got his building, man. He took pictures of it, man. He gave us a tour, man. He finally got his building. After like 3/4 of his GoFundMe money got snatched back. I don't know how he gonna pay for it now.
Umar showing y'all an empty Payless. Rest in peace, Payless. But
that was a Toys R Us warehouse that he showed us.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. They on the way back, but
here's like what happens is I figured Kaepernick was gonna settle because I believe the NFL wasn't gonna keep tying this thing up in appeals, and he got too much money after a while. But I was kind of hoping that he would have made it at least one round, at least, to see what Bob McNair would have said. Because Bob McNair, he could tell he was the one that dropped some N-bombs, when he be talking. But
I mean, and that's why the NFL was probably in a hurry because, like, I think it was you that said they had some owners with loose lips. Like, they had some dudes out there who they don't want talking in front of the cameras because they're liable to say anything. So they had to. Before some of those secrets got out, they had to go ahead and do what they had to do.
Here's something I brought up on my Facebook. I was like, they up here, the NFL up here worrying about and listening to Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't the one writing the check. They are. So think about this. All these folks listening to Donald Trump, they the ones writing the checks that his butt ain't got a cash. And I always believe this story would not have gotten the legs it did if they just brought him into camp. Story say bring him in as a backup, just let him be on the team, and this story would have gone away like Michael Sam did. And we all knew Michael Sam was an NFL player, but he was brought in, had an opportunity to prove himself, and it didn't work out, and you didn't hear nothing for the LGBT. I think it's Q now. But so I think yeah, and so I think like the collusion thing was all about he was suing him because of lost wages, kept away from work. Now the key is what he does with that money, because not you guys, but I'm tired of all these black people, these pet raccoons, and these white MAGA folks thinking black people could fight for social justice with no money. That's how you fight for stuff. That's how you got to back politicians with money. You got to support causes with money. Richard Spencer is one of the most well-known white supremacists in this country. He got donors out the yin-yang. He ain't doing this off of love and prayer. So the biggest key is what does Kaepernick do with his money?
612, you want to make a comment on the air?
Hello?
You want to make a comment on the air? Hello?
Devin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, it's Tobias.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. I
was saying, I don't know if y'all heard me. I was going to say that the key also is that what he does with this money. Because I was saying is that, if I repeat myself, I apologize if y'all didn't hear it. But was that it takes money for these causes, like to back political candidates, to local candidates, funding for, like, let's say, like he did with the suits for prisoners getting out of prison, stuff like that. And to me, that's the biggest key. I would have loved to, like, see what would have been said, but I do think the NFL might have tried to tie him up in court like they did Tom Brady and Zeke Elliott.
Right. No, I mean, they wouldn't have had a choice but to tie him up in court. Like,
yeah,
you trying to expose some stuff that we might very well be doing. So they gotta, they gotta get the best lawyers. They gotta tie it up as long as possible. They gotta offer you these settlement deals to see if they can make you go away without any of their important stuff being exposed. That's what they gotta do, man.
And we don't know, honestly, we don't know how long they talked also. Because I figured once they go to trial, and it's supposed to go to a bench trial, right? Like the case. And part of me still thinks we're still in America. So that part of me still thinking that real country we live in right now. So all this, and we got plenty of cases where black people have evidence that they were innocent, and they still got thrown, like locked in jail and the key thrown away, or the killer cop still was free.
See, and like for me, it's always been, anybody who listens to this show knows that my one question, my one issue throughout this whole thing is like, I stand with Cap, but I don't really know what Cap wants me to do because Cap is not saying anything. Like, a lot of people took it like, I'm going to stop watching the NFL. I'm like, there wasn't a point where Cap told me to stop watching the NFL. He was still trying to get a job in the NFL. His man got a job in the NFL. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure they were watching what was going on. If they were trying, so I really never knew what he wanted me to do. I never knew what he felt his role in this was. We kind of just let it go on, and we made him into this civil rights leader, this civil rights activist. But we never actually knew what he wanted. Like, we heard rumbling sometime when his, seemingly angry girlfriend would tweet or IG or something like that, but we never heard anything from Colin Kaepernick. Like, he could come out and say something like, hey, I'm not Muhammad Ali. I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm not Malcolm X. Don't praise me like this. Don't hold me up on a pedestal. I'm trying to get this bag. And I would have been cool with it. Just tell me, though, because I don't know what to do, and now I don't know what to think, now that it ended this way. So that's my only thing.
Yeah, and people talking not watching the NFL, I hate to break this to folks. The NFL already got their money when they signed that deal. And that's the crazy part about it is that the NFL already had their money. Nike's a corporation. They're going to capitalize this. If they could make Nike MAGA shirt, guess what they would do? They would do it if it's sold. Hate to break it to folks, they would do it. There's a reason Gucci has blackface turtlenecks and they sell.
They made the bet. Their bet was based on the fact that they see sports culture, urban culture, and hip hop culture as one, and it's pervaded by black folks. Not so much that black folks are valuable intrinsically as human beings, but they're valuable as purveyors of culture that pushes money and consumers. So that was the bet. That's all.
Hey, I gotta call out somebody. Actually, I gotta call out black people on this one. A lot of these black folks look like they ain't watching the NFL or they are mad at the system. Or the same ones big up in Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft is best friends with Donald Trump, people. But yeah, somehow he's allowed to play both sides of the fence. That's just something right there that boggles my mind there. And like we talked, Kaepernick playing again. I don't think he's playing again, nor do I think he should want to play again. Because I believe he's playing again, and if he thinks of
his lawyer or his agent, one of them said after the settlement that it's a high probability that he'd be signed in the next 2 weeks. And he even named a few teams, with the Patriots being one of them.
Do you really think Cam Newton wants him on the Panthers? But here's the thing. I believe it would actually potentially hurt him if he went back and wasn't any good. I'm not saying he was great anyway, but maybe
I gotta keep it all the way 100 because and mostly because I'm already on record, because all people have to do is go back and listen to this show while he was in the NFL. I didn't really think he was any good. But, he kind of became my favorite quarterback because of the stand that he took. But when people said to me, it's not because he took a knee, it's because he's just not that good. Like, in the back of my mind, I thought people had a point, but I knew they were saying that with malicious intent. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's tough.
I wish I wouldn't have to bring that back up, but, hey, I'm on record. People can dig it up, throw it in my face.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you guys got to run, but the good thing about this whole Kaepernick story was that it had to make you pick a side, and you knew where people stood. And you do it. And I've always been like, I like my biggest and coons up front. I don't want them hiding. I like knowing who I'm dealing with. Because, look at Jason Whitlock, for example. Now, when he talks about the NCAA paying players, hey, I agree with him. I actually hate agreeing with him, but on certain things. But
hey, don't you hate that? Don't you hate when Jason Whitlock says anything that makes any sense? I'm like, damn, I don't want to agree with this dude.
Yeah. And the thing was, they were talking about, well, he wants starter money. Show me why no one ever told him? Those black people on those sets ever say, well, show me the proof that he said he wanted starter money. Show me right now. Or he said he wants this much money. Show me the proof. And we as a people, we let that stuff slide a lot, and we don't challenge nobody when stuff like that happens. Because guess what? It may not be cap, but what if someone says that about you in your regular job or your life?
Mm-hmm. All right, man.
Hey, Dad, I'll make this real quick before you go. Zion Williamson should sit out the rest of the season. You did your time. I think he should sit out the rest of the season and get ready for the draft and stay off those Bojangles blueberry muffins there. Peace.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week, Tobias. We're going to talk about that Zion thing in a few minutes as well. That's a very interesting topic. Let's go. Let's take one more call because man's been waiting for a while. We got David calling in from Minneapolis. David, welcome to the War Room. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for taking my call. How you guys doing?
All right. How are you?
All right. If I could say I had a totally different perspective than the previous caller, and I thought he might some borderline ignorant statements and some false statements as well. And the first issue I have with him is continual generality of people. He often uses the words white people this, black people that, this and that. And anyone to me who engages on generalizing people in that way, to me, already calls into question what type of logic or sense they use. Because in every group, whether they be white, black, Jewish, Hispanic, whatever they are, there are good and bad people in every group. And in life, you learn at the end of the day, you have to look at people as individuals and go off of that individual regardless of whatever racial background. Because, I mean, you find good and evil in every single group. It doesn't matter what their background may be. And when it comes to the issue of black civil rights, it's interesting to me how African Americans seem to consistently reject or forget the notion of who actually ended slavery. Who actually is the ones behind signing these legislations for civil rights? It's like you're saying it as if black people did it and there were no white people involved, when the reality is it was done almost completely by white people, and black people played a minimal role in both situations.
But do you think that the people, you think the white people that ended slavery, do you think they were doing that for the benefit of blacks? Because the story is a lot different than what's taught.
Because it goes before the Civil War. You're referring to strictly the Civil War. I'm talking about the abolitionist movement itself. So the abolitionist movement, when it began, it was done by white people who made basically those time pamphlets, which they circulated amongst the American people. And it showed people illustrations of how slaves were being treated. And for many people, it was the first time they'd ever seen it. Because remember, back then, people didn't have TVs. And so people had no idea how people would be living in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. So that's how the abolitionist movement grew and it spread. That's what those people were part of the Underground Railroad and all those things. All white people that were doing it. And so my point, the reason I brought that up is when you generalize a group of people and say white people are this or black people that, that's to say that an entire group is good or an entire group is bad. That's totally untrue. Because there was a lot of good white people who played an instrumental role in setting the slaves free and in getting civil rights. Without them, it wouldn't have got done. That's a fact.
I can agree with that as certainly being fact. There's certainly good and bad amongst all of us, but I also think that we can agree that the overarching culture of this country has always been, and unfortunately may remain, white supremacy.
That's completely untrue. I mean, how do you define white supremacy?
I define it by what we see in the White House and some of the behaviors that are indicative of who he is, which also reflects
what's your definition? Are you saying white supremacy based on the fact that America's 70% white? Or are you saying it based on what, like, Well, I mean, you got to define what you Are you saying because?
No. Definitely not based on the number of people that live here. Because believe it or not, a black person can be a white supremacist. White supremacy is a culture. So people that subscribe to the culture
what it is. That's why I'm asking you.
Got you. So white supremacy would be a commitment to keeping white people at the head of the power structure of this country. A commitment to that life.
So are you talking politically here? What when you say power structure, in what way?
Yeah, I think it's politically. I think it's civically. I think it's economically.
Okay, so let's define politically. So are you saying that there's not black elected officials and black government bureaucrats?
Absolutely not. So we could go back to the statement that I made. Because of your ethnicity, that does not mean that you are not a subscriber to white supremacy. So those same elected officials, hell, we've had police officers that are black that have killed other black people, right? So when you're referring to an ideology, then that's your issue. One more thing. We've had black people that were overseers on slave plantations, right? So we've seen cases.
That's not the same as a black politician or a black police officer. That's two different things.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, so basically what you're really saying is this. Your issue is not it's not about the skin color of the person. What you're talking about is what their ideology is. That's what you're repeating, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what do you consider the proper ideology for a black person to have? Is what? Based on what?
The proper ideology, I don't think that's a monotheistic way. I don't think there's one ideology that all black people should have or one ideology that all white people should have. But I do think that there's commonalities in the way that humanity should be viewed and people should be treated generally. And I think that should permeate the culture, the dominant culture of a country and society. And I haven't seen evidence of that consistently in our country, unfortunately.
And so have you seen any evidence that America is improving or changing for the better, let's say over the last 40 to 50 years?
Over the last 450 years?
No, I said 40 to 50 years.
Oh, 40 to 50 years.
Yeah.
Changing for the better.
I mean, there's always going to be small changes. I wouldn't call them wholesale changes myself. I mean, everybody's going to look at opportunities that quote-unquote minorities might have in the country now and say, see, everything's getting better. But for the past 40 or 50 years, since we want to use that, it's kind of, and it's more obvious now that the ideology has just been suppressed publicly. Because if you look at how a lot of people feel comfortable now, it seems like we're taking a whole lot of steps backwards.
Okay,
because
so are you trying to say that
people don't fear being out in the open?
In 2019, you're telling me there hasn't been a marked improvement in the state of affairs for black people as far as economic opportunity, equality, rights. You're telling me there's been no substantial progress in any of those fields at all.
I don't think anybody can say that.
Oh, come on, brother. You can't
being honest,
man.
I don't think anybody can say that if they're being honest. But that's what I'm saying. That's what people are going to point to. Like, oh, there's more economic opportunity. There's more this and there's more that.
That's what people were fighting
for
in the civil rights movement back in the 50s and 60s. That was the whole point.
Okay, but are you going to tell me that? Are you going to tell me that everything is, we're living in a utopian society right now?
Well, a utopian society is never going to exist because there's never been one and there'll never be one because human beings themselves are flawed. I'm talking about an improvement from where we were to where we are now. You tell me there's been no substantial progress? You actually think it's the same as it was in 1965?
No, it's not the same as it was in 1965.
Okay, so it did improve then.
Okay, so what's your point? Yeah, I said to you
that's
2 seconds
a big
ago.
deal because
I just said to you 2 seconds ago. I said if somebody says that it didn't improve, then they're not being honest. But now I want to know, what's your point? Where are you going with that? There's still a whole lot of problems.
Because America is basically an experiment in this whole multicultural, multi-ethnic society that we have, which is unique in human history. There hasn't been a lot of countries like America where you have all these racial and ethnic groups living in one country together. Almost everywhere else in the world, people are usually homogenous, ethnic-wise, racial-wise, religion, and you don't see a lot of countries where you have a big melting pot like here. And so here we're trying something that's unique. And human beings fundamentally in their nature are tribalistic. That's why human beings.
Yeah, we would have been much further ahead than where we are right now, if not for all the things that we just mentioned.
We have no historical example to compare to say, look, we could have been further along, or we're ahead, or behind, because there's no other country in history you can point to.
But we do know right. We do know.
I mean,
right,
if we just treat everybody like human beings, we could have been much farther.
Yeah, well, you're saying that because what you're not talking about is the tribal nature of human beings. Human beings around the world. Let's go to Europe, Africa, and Asia, right? Where people are homogeneously, racially the same. They all are black in Africa. They're all white in Europe, and they're all Asian, whatever skin color you want to use, in Asia. But even within those countries where they're racially homogenous, people separate and go against each other based on ethnicity, based on whatever particular culture groups they belong to. Like in Asia, as an example, people from China, they've had a long-term beef with people from Southeast Asia, like Vietnam and Cambodia, and they despise each other. The same is true for the Chinese and the Japanese. Like, I happen to be African myself. I'm from a country called Ethiopia. In our country, we had a long ethnic tensions between the Amhara, the Tigray, and the Oromo that goes back thousands of years. And so everywhere in the world, people constantly form these groups, and they come together, and then they go against these other groups. And if they're strong enough to conquer the other group, they'll subjugate the other group when they have the power to do so. That's consistent throughout all of human history. And what I'm saying is, in America, for the first time, you're actually seeing a society even try to make the attempt to create equality. That's unique because no one else even tried. Other countries, either you have to fight for it, either you earned it through war, or if you weren't strong enough, you became subjugated. In America,
I understand fully what you're saying, but
otherwise you're not being honest about history.
But being from the ethnic group who has consistently gotten the short end of the straw in this country, I can't have the same positive outlook as you.
I'm not saying have a positive outlook. I'm saying be honest about things in the sense that white people did not have to free the slaves. They didn't have to have a civil rights movement. They could have done the opposite.
They did.
Literally did the exact opposite.
But listen, freeing of the slaves was economical. That was economics. That wasn't because hold on, B. That's not because we all, everybody got together and said, oh, this is wrong.
Well, a large portion of Americans
slavery
would say it's wrong that it needs to
Slavery
end.
ended to stop Western expansion.
That's not the only case. You can look at the political voting records at that time, and you had about 95% of the Democrat Party at that time voted to keep slavery in place, and it was about the exact same percent amongst the Republicans that voted against it. The Republican Party was formed as a political movement to bring slavery to an end.
Hold on.
The abolitionist movement was formed.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And then also, what happened after? What happened after the Civil War? The Republican Party.
He's right as far as the party. He's right as far as the party structure. But for the actual reasoning,
that's a large percentage of white Americans.
They weren't trying to abolish slavery because it was the right thing to do.
Well, their primary motivation was that it was ethically wrong to do that to a person. In fact, the Republican chairman, the Republican Senate leader, gave a speech on the floor in Congress about how the treatment of blacks was wrong. They were equally valuable.
Wait a minute,
the Democratic leader then attacked him and hit him over the head with a cane. That happened on the Senate floor.
Wait, so David, are you one of the people? Are you of the thought that Abraham Lincoln is a hero?
No, I'm not saying Abraham Lincoln is a hero. What I'm saying people need to stop painting with a broad brush and trying to make whole groups of people out to this or that. That's not true. Things are much more.
David, my people have been painted with a broad brush since we were floated over here in chains. Excuse us if we're a little.
If that's the case,
it's a little traumatic.
You shouldn't then turn around and do the exact same thing to other people. If you know that that's
individually, I don't. Right now, the only reason I'm giving you a rebuttal is because I'm trying to get you to understand how a lot of people
think. You should at least give America some credit for the fact that it's actually attempting to create an egalitarian society when, number one, it didn't have to. What if the white people in this country decided that they decided not only to keep slavery in place, but if any, like, for example, any black person that opposed what they were doing, to forcibly remove you from this country and to tell you to leave under the threat of killing you? What if they did that?
Why would you forcibly remove your free labor?
What do you mean? I'm talking about post-slavery. What if they decided every disgruntled black person that doesn't like the current system, you can go and we'll have you leave this country. Otherwise, we'll kill you or imprison you if you don't. What if they decided to do that?
Because after slavery, they were still getting David. Because after slavery, they were still getting free or cheap labor from these black people. Again, why would you forcibly remove your free or cheap labor?
No, I'm talking
country?
about passing civil rights legislation. They could have never done that. They could have kept you in a permanent second-class status with no voting rights, with no rights whatsoever. But what I'm saying to you is you're acting like
they tried for a long time. You're telling us to give them all the credit as if
obligated.
All right, Dave, we let you speak, buddy. We let you speak. You're asking us to give them credit as if we didn't fight for that on our own.
But you didn't. That's my point.
We didn't fight for voting rights. We didn't fight for.
No, I'm talking about slavery. I'm saying you didn't fight for independence.
And I'd like to go back. I'd like to go back to that point, David. You actually there's a little bit of a fallacy that you're perpetuating. So the Republican Party and the northern part of the country embraced the Industrial Revolution long before the southern part of the country. And as this country moved from being an agrarian society to an industrialized society, there was no more need for slave labor in an agrarian society. So the need for slaves or slave labor had changed completely, and those in the North that were employed were typically white folks who were working in factories, so they had nothing that they could relate to with regards to slavery in the South. So that was
No. I mean, I'm talking about how with the policies that the Republicans put in place after the slavery and after the Civil War. You could look in 1872 and 1875, the Republicans passed the Civil Rights Act and the Enforcement Act, which gave black people full civil rights and the right to arm and defend themselves. Along with that, they passed bills for reparations to give to black slaves after the Civil War. The problem is, what people forget is what happened in 1892. In 1892, Grover Cleveland became president, and the Democrats took control of both the Senate and the House. That's when the Civil Rights Act and the Enforcement Act were both repealed, and that's the same time the Jim Crow laws and black codes were instituted. But because people don't understand the political issue of America, they just had this weird, I call it historical revisionism, where you try to project whatever you feel onto America's past to justify your current belief system.
But you made a comment about emancipation and the reason that emancipation happened, and that's not true.
I said to you that the Republican Party was made up consistently of people who fundamentally opposed slavery. And it was proven after the Civil War because they passed bills like the Enforcement Act, the Civil Rights Act, and they passed bills for reparations right after the Civil War, which the Democrats fought tooth and nail against. And then the Democrats 20 years later repealed both those bills in the 1890s when they took control of the House and the Senate, and they had a Democrat president. That's historical facts. That's not my opinion. Okay, that's a point of fact you can look to and reference and check for yourself. Now, how do you explain that?
But how would you explain the change from an agrarian society to the Industrial Revolution and the lack of need for slave labor? I would like you to address that.
That has nothing to do with why the Republican Party decided to pass a civil rights bill, an enforcement bill, and to have a bill for reparations. They didn't have to do that.
What did those bills do for black people exactly?
It gave them civil rights. It gave them the right to arm and defend themselves, and it rewarded them reparations. That's my point. It did until 20 years later, the Democrats got rid of it.
Well, how would they be able to get rid of it countrywide?
Because the Democrats took control of the House, the Senate, and they had Grover Cleveland became president.
That's how they did it. They had control.
How were they able to wrest control of the House if they didn't have the support of a large majority of the people?
That's because if you know anything about American political history, it always goes back and forth. There's never been a time when one political party had permanent control of the Senate and the House for an extended period of time. It always rotates. But you cannot deny the fact that we had an entire political party that was for that. Not only that, if you go during that same time during the late 1800s, you had in Texas the Republican chairman of the state of Texas was black. Same was true in several southern states. And that you had black elected officials both in the Senate and the Congress all over the Republican Party. In fact, the Democrats, the arguments the Democrats had against Republicans at the time was that the Republicans were the party based in their words of niggers and carpetbaggers. That's what they said. That's right. You can look at the posters of what they had.
Why was lynching so prevalent?
I'm kind of into this conversation. What is the overall point? Are we saying that?
No, that's and David, that's exactly what I was about to ask you. Like, I understand. Okay, you're giving facts about about bills or whatever. I still don't follow the point that you're trying to get to because you yourself are saying that this was a 20-year period. Like, what did this do for black people in general? What are we supposed to be thanking? What are we supposed to be thanking white Americans for? Is the point that I don't get.
No, what I'm saying is that in America you had some white Americans that opposed black people and wanted them to be subjugated and wanted them to be in a second-class status, and you had another group of white Americans that opposed that idea and wanted black people to have equal rights. And
but we agreed 10 minutes ago
what I'm
that
saying
there
is
are good and evil people
that's not
every
what
race.
The previous caller was projecting that all whites are like this, and you said yourself, this country's culture is based on white supremacy. That's ridiculous, man. Because that's trying to say that the majority of white people are racist and that they oppose black people. That's not true.
Well, I didn't say that myself, but I'm not saying that I disagree either.
And think about it. If America was such a white supremacist country, why does America allow millions of brown and black people, mostly whom coming from third world countries, to immigrate to their country? Like I said, my family immigrated here. America allows for more than 1 million people to immigrate to America on a yearly basis, the majority of whom happen to come from third world countries that are black and brown. How could that be the case if this was what you were saying were true?
I mean,
but right now we're trying to build walls to keep them out.
No, that's having to do with illegal immigration. That's different. That's a separate issue. I'm talking about legal immigration. I'm saying America allows for more than 1 billion legal immigrants to come to America every single year. The majority come from poor, third world countries that are black and brown, like my family. And I'm telling you that what you want to do is
you're
trying to make America out to be like it's the worst.
Let one of the
okay,
go ahead, Jimmy.
No,
say what you guys say.
All I'm saying is they still operate within the same system. You can say whatever you want to say about people coming over, but the resources are still with only a few. And the resources with those black and brown people you're speaking of.
But hold on. Are you telling me that as a black man today in 2019 that you can, come through your mind and through your hard work and effort and whatever talent and skills you may have, that you can't come up financially? Are you serious?
That's not what I said at all.
No, we've already proven that to be true. I mean, but
that's not what
I still don't follow your point. Your point sounds a lot to me. Some of the stuff that you said today is giving me the impression that you're saying we need to be more grateful to white people. That's what I'm getting at.
No, I'm saying you need to be more appreciative of the fact that, number one, that there actually were white people who wanted to change things when they didn't have to. Number one, they could have kept it exactly the way it was and told you to F off and kick rocks if you don't like it. Because there's a lot of white people that feel that way. And if it was true that the majority felt that way, they would have did that.
And
think about it. What if cops went out and just killed every black person in this country? They could do that. That stuff happens in a lot of parts of the world whenever a certain ethnic group is out of line. Like in my country, when the Maharas were in power, that's one ethnic group, they persecuted and subjugated the Oromos, and they killed a lot of them whenever they would act up. Whenever they were supposed to attempt to try to create an equal society, they would just go around and murder a whole bunch of them.
But your overall point, what I'm trying to understand, it sounds as if you're saying we should be grateful grateful for what? Do you think that we live in a system?
Well, number one, you should be grateful for the fact that you have more economic opportunity and freedom than the majority of the world today, and definitely more than what your forefathers had before you. And you should be grateful for the fact that you have. What do you mean?
That's my point. Like, did we not fight for that?
First of all,
what do you mean by we? First of all, you didn't fight for that. People that were before you fought for that, and people that were black and white fought for that.
My ancestors, the people count as we.
Don't say we. When you say we, you're trying to take credit.
We didn't we as black people. I'm not changing that. So I mean, we can get off of semantics because I'm not changing that. Didn't we as black people fight for that? Nobody just gave that.
You. Your forefathers fought for that.
David, enough with the semantics. I'm not changing off of that.
That's an important
as black people.
You are a beneficiary of the work that other people did.
All right, we're not going to get it. And I'm grateful for that, but you're trying to tell me I should be grateful because of the people who oppressed us they threw us a bone.
I never told you to be grateful for the people that oppressed you.
I'm grateful for the black people before me who fought for that.
But it wasn't just the black people. There was black and white people that did it. And the primary people that did it were white people.
Kudos to the ones who helped. Kudos.
Listen. Why should I be grateful that my forefathers had to fight for rights that I should have been born with? That they should have been born with.
Who said that you should have been born with that? You're living in another people's land that you were brought over to as slaves.
Oh, this is their land now.
Living in your own country.
Their land now. This is their land now?
Hold on.
We're living on stolen land, David. We're living on stolen land. So
whatever, they conquered it. The point is that they formed a country and they brought people over here. And it's different when you talk about being in your homeland versus you're not.
It sounds to me that you're okay with oppression. This is stolen land.
I'm not okay with oppression. What I'm saying is that you're making it seem like people are obligated to create an equal or egalitarian society when they don't have to do it. If somebody's in a position of power,
when their country on their land and their constitution says that's what it is, then that should be what it is.
Yeah, but if they decide that it only applies to them and it doesn't apply to you, that's their prerogative if it's their country. That's my point. You're acting like they had to have an equal society. They didn't have to do anything. Nobody has to do anything.
So nothing you're saying will lend itself to saying that you're not okay with oppression. You're basically telling us because they loosened up the vice grip on your neck a little bit, your ass should be grateful. You should be thanking the white people. And every time I bring up the fact that my people fought for this, died for this, you want us to keep thanking the white people. That's the part
I'm saying that
I don't understand where you're going.
Without a large number of white people coming along and actually being part of that, no change would have happened. If it was just black people, nothing would have changed.
First of all, that's obvious. David, that's obvious. There's no change. There's no change in 2019 that's not. Listen. There's no change in 2019. Jimmy, there's no change in 2019 that will happen without white people being involved.
You're not going to pass any legislation.
Again.
Okay, but we're telling you the same thing. In 2019, nothing would change if there weren't white people involved.
Speculating.
Who doesn't know
that? Of course, that's my point. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying now you can't say that all one group of people are good or bad.
First of all, I didn't say that. You already addressed the other caller. He's not here to defend himself. But we're going to go 20 minutes.
That's the foundation, the point I'm making, and why I said that even in the civil rights movement, you had to have whites and black people doing it. It wasn't like a homogenous group of people that did it.
But that's
obvious. If you didn't have a large enough number of white people engaging in it, it would have never had any progression.
David, in the country that they conquered, that's obvious. Even in 2019, that's obvious. Nothing is going to change. Nothing happens without white people. But that's the point. That's the point that we've been making the whole time. If you don't find that to be oppressive, listen, David, listen for a second. We've let you talk longer than any caller in the history of this show. If you do not find what you're saying to be, basically oppressive, then I don't know what to tell you. Listen, David. If we're living in a system where black people can only get ahead with the help of white people, then you're proving our point. Listen to yourself.
In today's society, you by your own effort when you talk about making money, you can come up yourself and do it.
I'm
Is
talking
life
about
just about money? Is life just about money?
Listen, politically,
is life just about money?
Because first
Black
of all,
people are only
that's
13%
not
of the
true.
population.
You're
You don't have
ignoring
enough
history.
people in a democratic society to move forward. You need more people to join
That's
you.
not.
That's a numbers
what you're
game.
doing,
But
you're ignoring
David,
history.
if the
You're
society was humane, it wouldn't matter what
redlining.
color you were. It wouldn't matter what color you were in a humane
Hold on
society.
for a second.
No, I'm addressing the point that you made, that you said that black people can't do anything without white people helping them. I'm saying if you're talking politically, you have to have white people join along with you to do something. Just to have,
Okay. What's the most powerful system in America? The political system.
But let me make a point because
everything's not about money.
You're using that whole adage of you'll pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you're ignoring history. You're ignoring the racial wealth gap. You're ignoring what led to the racial wealth gap. You're ignoring years of oppression. You're ignoring redlining. You're ignoring things that put people in a position to control most of the resources. So to say that we're all on an equal playing field is kind of ridiculous. It's basically ignorant. Are you kidding me? I work with people day in and day out that don't have the same opportunities, that are born here, that others have because of resources. What are you talking about?
And David, no matter how much money a black person makes, they're still a nigga with money. Like, that's just the bottom line, man.
About? If you look at the country, most of the wealth is concentrated with a small percentage of people.
Oh, he dropped off the line. All right, well, we're always here for it. We always here for it.
I knew,
David, if you're out there, because let me make something clear though for anybody who's out there listening. We don't do the hang up thing. He dropped somehow. Wait, here he is. We're gonna wrap this up, but we're definitely gonna let him back on because we don't want to, want him to be off the line because he was disconnected. David, you there?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right, we gotta wrap this up so we can move on. First of all, before you make your final points, I want to let you know this: we appreciate the dialogue. Don't think for a minute because we're having a debate that we don't appreciate the dialogue. We appreciate anybody who can call in and speak intelligently and have this type of dialogue with us because, frankly, more of it should be had, and a lot of people shy away from these type of talks. But we can go maybe 2 more minutes, but then we got to move on. So go ahead and make your final point.
I just want to make a point. I know you heard what I said before you got disconnected. All I was saying is you're going with the whole you can pull yourself up bootstraps, and that is ignoring a lot of history. That's ignoring the racial wealth gap. That's ignoring the opportunity that people have because of resources and how resources are concentrated within this country. I'm on the front lines working with people day in and day out that don't have the opportunities as others because of resources. So it's not as simple as just saying you can come up with something and do something, whatever. It's just not that simple. It's very nuanced, and it's kind of like I don't understand how maybe you don't see that because I don't know like what your experience is, but I see that. I know people both sides of the tracks, and believe me, there's 2 different Americas.
Right. So the reason I think that way, the reason I have that pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality, first and foremost, happened to do with what I saw my own family do. So my mother, for example, she was an orphan in our country. Both her parents and all of her siblings were murdered during a government situation with the government. And all that was left was her and her younger brother. They grew up in an orphanage where they were abused and mistreated. They had to run away and live on the streets by themselves just to get by. And my mom, when she came here, she was a teenage mother. Didn't know the language, didn't have any money in her pocket. And she had every reason to be a victim. She had every reason and excuse to not have to try hard or not have to do anything. But instead, what I witnessed her do was work 3 jobs, bust her butt, only sleep maybe 3 hours a day, while at the same time going to school, saving up money. Eventually, she owned her own business, got to the middle class, owned her own home, several cars, achieved the quote-unquote American dream. And I've seen a lot of other immigrants like that from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, come to America, and they come here with nothing, and they work and they grind. A lot of them start out working bottom-end jobs like janitors, driving taxis, the bottom-end stuff, and through their hard work, dedication, and discipline, they grind and they work their way up and they come up. And what I'm saying is that every man on this line needs to understand fundamentally as a man, you're supposed to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps because at one time, there's going to come a point where you're going to have children who are going to depend on you. And they're going to depend on you to feed them, to clothe them, to shelter them, and provide for them. So if you as a man not pulling yourself up, by your own bootstraps, you got to call into question what type of man are you? I don't understand how a man doesn't think that way.
Let me comment one thing. First off, that's a great story. And I also come from the inner city, and I quote unquote pulled myself up to the bootstraps to the point now where I employ several other people. But at the same time, what I understand is some people don't have boots to begin with. And you can make the analogy of people coming over here from different countries, but the one thing, I don't know if you're African American or not. I don't know if you're African American or not, but we face different obstacles than even people who are quote unquote foreigners because of that system of white supremacy and all the stereotypes that are associated with someone African American. So, you have a great story. But
so how are you able to come up?
I can guarantee you within that story. It's not about being a victim either. What I'm saying is, although I
But
made
I mean, how did you come up? How did you do it?
I understand others, and I see their plight, and I understand depression, and I see people who have resources who didn't have even the things I had.
No, but that's not my question. My question is, how did you come up? You said yourself you were able to do it. You were able to own your own business. Now, how did you do it?
Because honestly, because manners and education. Because someone took the chance and someone took time to help me out. Basically, being a mentor.
Okay, but did somebody give it to you, or were you able to do it with your mind and with your work
anything.
ethic?
No one gave me anything. No one gave me anything except for some knowledge. The knowledge.
Exactly. So you were able to do it by using your brain and by working, right?
But what you don't understand is some people.
David,
don't have,
you really have to
knowledge.
visit some. I mean, I don't know where you're. Well, you live in Minneapolis, I presume. You really have to visit some inner city places, man. It is not as easy.
I have visited. I've been to Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago, Boston.
Listen,
what I'm saying is this: is that when you give people an excuse to fail, you better believe that increases the likelihood they will fail.
But it's not about excuses. Listen,
when you give them the resources to fail, it's more likely that they're going to fail. People pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Like, your mom's story is a great one, but I think you should start looking at her as more of an outlier than the norm in America.
That's not an outlier. I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of African Americans that came up the hard way. Some of my best friends growing up.
And I do too.
That's great.
And I do too. But there's I do too. But there's millions of others who don't have the same chance.
And if you can do it, then how come another black person can't do it?
Because some people don't even have the education or knowledge.
First of all, I'm not sitting here saying that everyone is as exceptional as I am. That's a joke.
But that's my point, because you're an individual, right? Before you're a black person, you're you. You have your own brain. You have your own intellect, your skills, your talents, your abilities, right?
Dave,
some people go to schools that aren't worth. Go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
It's not about going to school. I'm talking about who you are as a human being.
David, I take it you're not African American, but what I can say is, because of where I do my work in the inner city, in the prisons, I know people that are still literally suffering from slavery. They don't have the knowledge to even know what to do.
How can someone be suffering from slavery now?
Because they still don't have resources. Their family has been poor since. And my point
you don't have to have
resources
to start out, man. My family didn't have resources. A lot of people in this country, when they start out in life, they don't have resources. But they work and they use their brain and they come up.
You're talking about someone going to get a job at the lower end as a janitor. Some people don't even have access to jobs like that.
Stop lying, bro. America's got an unemployment rate.
So you think anybody in America can go get a job as a janitor right now? You think anyone in America?
America's got one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire world. You're crazy, bro. You tell me you can't get a job in America?
You're visiting places. Everybody can't just wake up and say, I'm going to go be a janitor.
If you can't make it in America, how would you survive even one day in 75% of the world where they don't even have clean water, where they don't even know where they're going to get food the next day? You talk about
Michigan doesn't have clean water in America.
Listen, you live in a country where poor people are far. What do you know about poverty? You don't know nothing about poverty.
Who? You're saying we don't know anything about poverty?
I'm saying American people do not know anything about poverty where you live in a land where poor people are still fat. You have poor people that are fat in your country. How is that? How can that happen? I'm not taking it too far. You take for granted even the food that you have every day to eat that most people in the world don't.
Can you listen for a second? You know what any of us know. You don't know anything about our life or what we've done in terms of travel or what we've seen for you to make statements like that. Now you're taking it too far. You're telling us what we know.
How am I taking it too far?
I'm saying America has a different level of living than a lot of the world does.
Do you know where my family's from? Do you know where my family's from?
I'm not talking about you as an individual. I'm saying America as a whole in this case.
Speaking about Americans
No. But
in general.
you said you know nothing about poverty, is what you said.
Yeah, I'm saying Americans in general, because you don't have the level of poverty that you see in the majority of the world. Does not happen in the United States, man.
David, I understand.
David, I understand that it's levels to it, but you can't say someone doesn't know anything about it because they haven't experienced third world poverty.
We have how Americans take for granted the fact that you have hot and cold running water, electricity, heating, cooling, all these things.
Not if you live on the street, you don't.
In most of the world.
Let me say this, and I'm going to address this, and then definitely we've got to close this and move on. I thoroughly enjoyed your call, and this is something you may or may not acknowledge as an African, and there's something that occurs in America with African Americans, and you would have to study it from a sociological as well as psychological perspective. So in Africa, by and large, no matter how poor you are, there is not a war that is waged on your culture. And so from your culture, you take and accept value systems and things that are right and wrong. And when that culture is applied to a place where there are resources and opportunities, that culture thrives. One of the things that happens in America, number one, as general, if we take out race, right, and just speak in general terms, there is a limitation on what would be considered organic, indigenous American culture, right? And so there has always been a war on black culture in the United States of America. One of the reasons that foreign people are able to come here and thrive is there are things that their culture and culturally they believe in from day one, whether they're in their native land or whether they're here in the United States. And you'll see older people from other cultures that look at the youth because as they gain wealth and they gain things here in the U.S., they tend to lose touch with that culture that actually helps.
Your mic is going out.
And David, I live in one of the wealthiest cities in the country, in Philadelphia. In terms of income, numbers just came out in terms of having the most six-figure earners within the city. But within that same city, I can take you right now. I was there earlier this week to an entire neighborhood of people who live in a tent. Literally, they don't have running water. They don't have shoes. They live in a tent in one of the wealthiest cities in America. So
and how many of them are drug addicts?
How many of our drug addicts? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't take a number.
No, I'm telling you because most of the homeless in America are homeless because they got involved in drugs. That's the reality.
Oh, my God.
No, it's a fact.
That's not facts, dude.
Yes,
That's
it
not
is.
Facts.
Oh God!
You got veterans you have veterans who fought for this country out on the streets. Like
that's different. Because a lot of veterans suffer from PTSD and they have psychological issues that they suffer from.
So it's always their fault. It's always their fault, huh?
It's
100%.
always.
Well, I mean, listen. In life, whatever situation you're in is almost always based on the life decisions that you make. You're telling me you're not personally responsible for your life?
No, that's just not true.
Yes,
That's just not true.
Listen, bro, if it's not for you, it's your parents.
Dave, do you believe everyone in prison is guilty?
Well, say that again?
Do you believe everyone in prison is guilty?
I would say the majority of them are, yes. You're telling me the majority of the men in prison are innocent of the crimes they committed, that they were framed?
I'm not saying. So
then what are you saying then, bro? See, this is the type of person you are. You want to excuse people, and you're someone that doesn't believe in personal responsibility. I believe in personal responsibility, man.
Listen, you
David, we are the epitome of personal responsibility. Again,
so then why would you against personal responsibility?
Because we understand that there's a system of oppression in America, and there always have been. Only thing we're saying to you, like we understand. Listen. We're giving you props for all the work, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, your family, and all of that. We're just telling you that that's not realistic for every single person in America.
That's what is expected of every human, especially every man. That's what you're expected to do. That's what it means to be a man. It's one thing if you're talking about women. Women, you can hold them to a different standard. But as a man, you're supposed to stand up and raise up by your bootstraps.
Whoa.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Hey, there, you better, in today's climate, man, you better not say, you shouldn't say stuff like that.
No, but you know what I mean? I'm not disrespecting women. I'm saying that men, as men, we're
traditional gender roles.
Traditional. What I'm saying is, listen,
no, I'm not. That's not traditional. I'm talking about facts. Men are built to be able to go out and work, grind, use your brain, think logically, come up with solutions when you got a problem, and solve them, and do what you got to do to survive. That's what it means to be a man.
Dave, listen to me for a second. Listen to me. I grew up in a neighborhood where cops would put cases on people for no reason, and actually one of them got arrested later on himself for putting cases on people, putting them in the system to the point where they couldn't get jobs. They couldn't pull themselves up because of their criminal record, something they didn't do. I've literally seen it
but
from
for
my own
every example that you can give of that, there's also a lot of other black men that decided to be drug dealers, that decided to murder people, that decided to steal, that decided to be pimps.
What does that have to do with
so
those
you
that
can't
didn't?
you can't negate the fact that there are people that make bad decisions in life. And when you make bad decisions,
but David, all you're doing
is
pointing to the other side. You've given no acknowledgement.
No, but what I'm saying is because I don't believe in excuses. I don't excuse people. You like excusing people. I don't believe in that.
If he just told you that he's seen with his own eyes police, he's basically seen police put cases on people for no reason, that's an excuse?
No, what I'm saying in that case is
all you did was
wrong.
point to the other side.
What happened to that person is wrong, but that doesn't excuse all the other people that decided to engage in crime and self-destructive behavior.
What I'm saying is, for you,
that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to mask that and say because there are police that frame people, therefore now we can excuse all these other black men that decided to sell drugs to their own people,
That's not at all.
shoot their own people, and rob their own
anything
people.
like that.
That's exactly the root of what you're trying to do. You want to excuse black criminality by saying it's not their fault.
Listen, you're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're using a straw argument. You're not even listening to
what I'm saying. It's not a straw argument. That's the big, because we talked about prison. When you asked me the question, you said to me,
nobody excuses black criminality. You may have come a little bit later, but we started the show talking about somebody black who should be, in trouble with the law right now.
No, I heard that. You talked about Jussie Smollett with the whole thing. I got that.
No, if he did something, he shouldn't be excused. So no,
I'm saying the other brother asked me a question.
He's just trying to give you
asked me the question of do I think that a large percentage of the black men in prison are guilty? He asked me that question. I said yes. He then laughed. Why did he laugh? Because he thinks that most of them are innocent.
I didn't say that at all.
I don't think that.
And then why did you laugh? Why did you laugh when I said yes? I believe most of them are guilty.
Because I laughed because I know there's no point in me asking the question. I already knew what your response would be. That's exactly why I laughed. I didn't think
okay, so are you telling me that the majority of the black prison population are innocent men that were framed by the police?
That's not at all what I'm saying. No. That's
okay, so I'm asking you. I want to give me a ballpark estimate from your own mind between 0 to 100. What percentage of black men in prison were framed of the crimes that they were committed that they were actually innocent? What percentage
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Just guess by your own, based on your own understanding. What do you think that number is? Just by your own opinion.
I have no idea, but you don't let me. What I'm saying. What I'm saying is. Even if
you don't want to answer it because it's gonna show the flaw in your logic.
That's
why.
No, David, he doesn't want to make up fake numbers like you've been doing.
I'm not saying
we don't want to make up fake numbers.
I want to ask you your personal opinion.
We're not going to put.
I'm asking you to give your personal opinion based on your view of how America is in the criminal justice system. I want you to tell me what you think is the percentage.
Listen.
I'm not asking you to give me the actual number. I just want to know what you think the number is.
We can definitely reconvene after some research. Everybody can reconvene. We can do.
I'm not asking you to give me what the actual number is.
We can do it on another show.
I just want to know how you view the criminal justice system.
David, what I'm saying is,
I'm telling you right now, I got a feeling you probably think more than half of the black men in prison were framed and that didn't commit the crimes that they were accused of.
I don't think that.
I didn't say that.
I don't think that. You know what I can tell you?
You think it's less than half of them?
This is Devin. Let me speak for myself. I don't believe more than half the men in prison are innocent, what I do believe, I believe more than half of the men in prison are on trumped-up sentences.
Okay, well, define what you mean by trumped-up sentences. So there's something they didn't do.
No. Trumped-up sentences meaning getting a lot of time, getting more time for the same crime where somebody.
Oh, you're referring to the
white,
nonviolent drug offender thing, right?
Violent, nonviolent. I'm just talking about sentencing. That's all I'm saying.
So you're talking about people who get harsh sentencing for being a drug dealer.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about people that get harsh sentencing for drug dealing, right? That's what the majority of the so-called.
We're talking about prison. I didn't know we were talking about specific crimes. You asked me about prison. You keep moving the goalposts back.
Well, I'm addressing your point. When you talk about harsh sentencing, that's usually applicable to the so-called nonviolent drug offenders. That's what we're talking about, right?
Okay, we can talk about nonviolent offenders. It doesn't have to be drugs. Drugs is not the only crime in America.
Well, that's the primary reason of that's the majority of the black male prison population is affiliated with either drug dealing or some type of violent crime.
Though. You keep making assumptions. He was
David,
making assumptions.
The rapper Meek Mill was just in jail for a 2 to 4 year sentence for popping a goddamn wheelie on a motorbike. Yes, I would bet that more than half of the black men in prison are there on trumped-up sentences. Their sentences are egregious.
Do you believe in the FBI's? Do you believe in the FBI statistics? Do you think they give reliable statistics when it comes to crime?
Do you think FBI gets reliable statistics?
Yeah, because I'm talking about. Do you think the government gives reliable statistics when it comes to crime? If we're going to talk about information and data.
No, I can't.
No.
Okay, so
sorry,
but
I can't really trust the government.
So what's a valid resource of information that we can use to evaluate crime and who's committing crimes or what type of crimes are being committed? What's a reliable source of information to go to that?
David, I'd like to give a little bit.
I knew you weren't going to answer that question because there wouldn't be a reliable source.
I didn't hear the question.
All you're left with is your subjective opinion, right?
Too many people talking at the same time. I didn't hear the question, actually.
No, my question is, if you're telling me that the government...
Jimmy, let me hear his question.
Let me hear his question. You asked him for his opinion and then said you're going to just give your opinion. That's what you asked for.
Right. No, he didn't. I asked him a direct question. He didn't give me a direct answer.
You asked him for... Did you not ask for an opinion? We told you that we did not know exact numbers for what we're talking about.
That's separate. That's the question I asked you 5 minutes ago. I'm talking about the question I just asked you right now.
The last question I heard was, do I think the FBI gives accurate statistics? And I said no.
So after you said no, I asked you a follow-up question, and that was this: if that's not a reliable source of information, let me finish my question, so then you can say whatever you need to say.
You want to keep moving the goalposts. You want to keep moving the goalposts, David.
Okay, brother, chill for 1 second.
David, it's obvious.
I'm talking to the other brother right now. Just give me 1 second, because he just made it.
Let him ask me a question, John.
Okay, so when I asked you that first question, you said no. I said okay. So my follow-up question to you was, if the FBI and the government is not a reliable source of information on crime statistics, what is a reliable source of information that we can look to determine the number of crimes that are committed, who are committed, and what type of crimes are being committed? Where do you think is a reliable source of information for that then, if it's not from the FBI and not from the government?
I can't give you an answer on that.
So then that means that we don't have any data to look.
I don't know who's giving accurate information. What my answer to you was,
so then there's no way to know.
I don't trust the FBI. I'm pretty sure you're telling me that the FBI will give us accurate information, but if I don't trust
what I'm saying is
something,
because I don't see any other reliable source you can look to. If you're telling me that's not the case and you just admitted yourself there is no other reliable source, then how do you know anything about what's going on in the criminal justice system at all? You just left with your personal
because of the work that we do, because of the people that we speak to.
How about from the work?
Yeah, but how many people are you talking to?
How many people that we do, the people that we know.
Does that address the millions of people that are involved in the criminal justice system? How many people are you talking to?
No, it does not. But let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a follow-up to that very question. Did I ever sit here and say I had accurate statistics on anything? I refrained from that question, but you won't let it go. Like, how can you? Like, I sat here and admitted to you.
Then how can you have an accurate understanding?
I don't want to pull statistics out of my behind that I don't know to be accurate. I told you that already.
How can you make any legitimate critique of the criminal justice system then?
Because of the work I do and things I've seen with my own eyes.
Yeah, but you just admitted yourself you're only dealing with a small number of people. You're not dealing with the millions and millions of people that are inside the criminal justice.
I was dealing with that. What I'm saying is I've seen.
Then if you're only dealing with a small number of them, you have no idea about the entirety of the system for you to be critical of it if you're not basing it on objective data.
I know the whole system can be thrown away. Listen, historically speaking, I know the whole system can be thrown away. It's never been fair. And you can keep trying to make it.
We shouldn't have law enforcement altogether, right?
Because I didn't say that.
Who said that? You just
said we should throw away the whole system. Well, what does he mean by that when he said we should just throw away the whole system? We don't need it.
He means that the system isn't fair, but nobody said, we don't want law enforcement. No one said that.
I never said we shouldn't have law enforcement. What are you talking about? You keep taking my statements.
Because I'm talking about criminal justice. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're talking about criminal justice as a whole, right? And that's fine.
Exactly. That involves law enforcement, and that involves imprisonment.
What is your experience with criminal justice for you to say that it's fair and people are criminals? What is your experience?
Well, my personal experience happened to be in my city when I saw, in the mid-'90s, when I saw a peaceful, harmonious community get destroyed over one summer when we had a massive influx of gangs from Chicago and St. Louis move into our city, and our city ended up having the highest murder rate in the country in '93. I witnessed that firsthand. Unlike you, I don't victimize thugs. I don't victimize gang members.
We witnessed the police blow up a whole block of houses. And it had nothing to do with gangs.
Maybe you should.
And that's wrong too.
Why do gang members
just because the police do something wrong doesn't mean you're going to turn around and accuse a gang member that shoots and kills people.
Why do gang members exist? Why do the gang members exist?
Because of their own selfish greed and ambition.
Okay. See, that's where you're. That's just wrong. It's just wrong. You think that most people would choose that route?
So let me ask you, brother. Have you ever known anyone whose family member got shot and killed by a drug dealer or a gang member?
I had a next-door neighbor that shot another neighbor in the head from murder who's sitting there right now. So yes, I have. You don't know what my experience is.
And that happened to my brother. My brother was shot by a gang member. Okay, and so I know firsthand, and I've had a lot of close friends of mine that were killed, that died in my arms during gang shootouts in my neighborhood. So I've seen this firsthand. And if you're telling me, if you're going to defend gang members and you're going to defend criminals, something's wrong with you. I'm telling you that right now.
Let me interject.
You're defending them.
Wait, Jimmy. Let me interject 1 second. Because when we tell you something off our experience, you make sure you let us know. That doesn't represent the millions of people in America. So if we're not allowed to give you our experiences, then I'm sorry if we're going to, what are you saying? Like, everything that you tell us.
I'm saying you can't defend criminals. Because this brother over here was trying to defend them. He was trying to defend gang members. I don't know how you can have a moral conscience and defend a gang member.
What listening to? When did I defend a gang member?
Word he said. He said to me, why do you think they're a gang member? Like there's a legitimate excuse for why someone would be that. There is no excuse, bro.
What I'm saying is,
there's an origin to everything. There's an origin to everything.
Listen, if you want to victimize criminals, go ahead and victimize them.
Can you just listen to me? Can you just listen? I'm not victimizing anybody, but what I do know is when a baby is born, it is not born with the intention of being a murderer, a killer, or a gang member. There's something that has had to happen in that life to make someone choose that life. Should they be punished? Absolutely, yes. But what I'm saying is we never get to the root cause of anything. When people are born, if a baby is being born right this moment, that baby is born with the idea to be a gang member. Something must have happened. What I'm saying is I do work in the prisons, right? And I've seen kids that, if given opportunities, they could have, Lord knows what they could have been. Some of them are brilliant, and some of them are evil. But at the same time, what I do know is that society plays a part in that. You don't want to put the blame on anything. You think that it's your choice, and you don't recognize the systems and things that have been put in place kind of change things. And that's just it's actually terrible to see. But at the same time, I do understand that everybody has a different experience.
Just apply your logic to yourself. If somebody has shot and raped your mother, and then in court he argued, Judge, you know what, I grew up in a broken home. My mother was a crackhead. I grew up in a racist, white supremacist society. I didn't have the opportunities. And so, my actions should be held to the same account
and then the judge decides I'm going to dismiss his case because of those factors. Would you accept that?
Hey, Dave.
If that happened to your family?
If that's what you got out of what he just said,
again,
you aren't listening, and we're all wasting time.
I'm listening carefully to what he said. He talked about
if that's what you got out of it, then you're not listening.
Dave.
Yes, I am.
Did I not just say?
Just because you're born poor, just because you're born in a broken home,
should be punished.
He said they should be punished. If that's what you got out of it, then you're not listening.
My point is that just because you're born in a bad situation.
I literally said.
Okay.
David,
I understand what you're saying, that they should be punished. So that applies in every aspect. That means that they're fully understanding of what they're doing. I don't care how bad your life was growing up.
Let me explain something. Because we really got to go.
You are not
Dave, let me explain something to you.
You're not listening.
The only point that root cause. The only point that root cause.
What I'm saying is the root cause is irrelevant to the choices that people make. Whatever the root cause may be, there's no excuse for someone to pick up a gun, shoot somebody.
You gotta let us talk, dude. You gotta let us talk.
David,
listen. Real quick, Jim, before you say something.
If you are a criminal, you should be punished. What I said was we need to look at the root cause. Maybe we should stop criminality. Like my thing is, if you commit a crime, go to jail. You should be murdered, whatever. But at the same time, let's stop with whatever that is that's creating criminals. I'm not saying anyone
I agree with that
should be punished.
But you would have agreed with it 2 minutes ago had you been listening. Had you been listening,
no, I
you would have said that 2 minutes
I
ago.
agreed with it, but what I'm saying is that
listen,
at the end of the day, it still comes down to the choice someone makes.
Dave, listen, dude. He wasn't saying root cause as in, okay, this individual criminal should get off because of that. He was saying that because he was saying if we get to the root cause, maybe we can stop all of this before it happens.
That's
but
all
you didn't let him do that. You gave us the example.
I heard that point, but he also admitted himself. But hold on, let's remember what he said. If you want to talk about the words he said that he went in prisons and he worked with people in prisons, and he said himself, some of them are good guys that had resources and opportunities, they would have been different. And then he says some of them are evil. So there are people that regardless of whatever resources or opportunities are given to them, they're still going to go out and commit evil and hurt people.
Yes.
Is that not true?
Is dedicated to trying to help the ones that need the resources.
You can still do something to stop
criminality. And what I'm trying to tell you is that the majority of them are evil. The majority of them are not good guys. Have you ever shot anybody? Have you ever shot anyone?
If I did, I wouldn't say it on the show.
No, but I'm saying, I'm just asking you. Think about what it would take. I know, my bad. I shouldn't ask that question. I know. That's wrong. I'm talking about. Consciously, think about what it would take for you to be willing to kill another human being. What would that take for you to do that?
It would take a lot. I get that.
I'm talking about not involving self-defense. I'm talking about somebody who had nothing to do with you.
It would be okay. It would be damn near impossible. I understand that, but what I'm saying is when you grow. Again, I'm not making excuses for criminals, but what I'm saying is I've seen people that come from environments where their whole governor, so to speak, is broken from the beginning because they grow up in a family of violence where that's just acceptable. But at the same time, that's what they. Again, they go back to the fact that when someone is born, they're not born with the idea of being a criminal. All I'm talking about is if you are a criminal, you should be punished. But we need to start working on to stop allowing those that aren't just born evil to become criminals. We need to work on those problems. Dave, listen,
but I'm saying that's not the case.
Listen, Dave, listen to me for a second. Dave, we're never going to.
I told you before, one of my best friends growing up grew up in probably the worst situation you have. The guy his mom was a crackhead, dad wasn't there. His older brother was a big-time drug dealer in our neighborhood, and he decided to take a different route in life. He made the choice to say, and he decided to go and he took his education serious. He went on to the University of Michigan, became a civil engineer, and is now working in one of the top firms. But if you look at his life situation, so that's my point. So even in that situation, people can make decisions one way or the other, which way they want to take their life.
Everybody isn't the same, and I guarantee you, even with your friends.
That's my point. Some people make bad decisions. Some people make good decisions.
But listen,
and there's consequences to the decisions you make.
You're trying to simplify. You're trying to simplify something that's more nuanced than that.
It is that simple, bro. If you take your education seriously, you increase the likelihood that you'll have a successful life growing up. That's a fact.
It really isn't.
All right,
That's a demonstrable fact.
We have to move on. We've been talking to Dave for like an hour.
Oh, come
Dave,
on, bro. Okay, I appreciate it, guys. I really appreciate your time.
No doubt. You've definitely been the longest. You might as well be a guest instead of a caller, because you've been on the show longer than anybody else. Look, we would love to have this conversation. If you have a pen or if you can remember it real quick, just take down my email address and we can get together. We can hook it up. But it's simple. It's just my first name, Devin, DEVIN, at warroomsports.com. Just send me an email so I'll have your email address. And, maybe because we do, like I said, we have a podcast network. So maybe we can do one of the, political shows that we were thinking about doing, and we can have you this until we all turn blue. But we definitely appreciate your call. Did you get the email address? Just DEVIN.
Yes, sir, I got you. Yeah, Devin at warroomsports.com.
Just shoot me at warroomsports.com. Just shoot me an email, and we will definitely continue this. All right?
Absolutely. Thanks again. You guys have a good night.
All right. No doubt. You too. So I'm definitely got to change the title to this of this one. But no, it's hard for us to turn away. I know everybody out there in the chat room, they're like, yo, what are y'all doing? But it's hard to turn away from these type of conversations. So we let the homie Dave hijack the show, and we got 15 minutes left to salvage any sports talk that anybody called in here to listen to. Let's talk real quick about the whole Zion thing, and then we'll move on to some of the more important things happening in the NBA. I'm sure you guys, everybody saw less than 40 seconds into Duke's game versus North Carolina, Zion Williamson went down with what they're calling a mild knee sprain. But as he was going down, he totally, Incredible Hulked out of his Nike shoes. So Nike is taking a beating on social media right now. And all the pundits who weeks ago were saying Zion Williamson probably should shut it down and get ready for the NBA. His point is proven. They're getting more, they're getting louder at this point. Do you guys agree with all that? First of all, what the hell is wrong with his shoe? Is it just a product of him being 280 pounds, an Incredible Hulk-looking fellow who moves differently than the rest of us? Or was it, Nike sweatshop practices coming to life? And do you guys think he should shut it down after this injury?
Oh, well, I'll say something. I thought the beat was going to chime in. I think it's an interesting topic because at the end of the day, I don't think he should be playing there right now anyway. So for me, I would shut it down.
So you were like Scottie Pippen a few weeks ago. You felt that he should be shutting it down anyway.
Listen, man, I would shut it down. But I understand both sides of the argument. But I don't understand the side where he should be thankful and out there playing because Duke gave him an opportunity. Yada yada yada. At the end of the day, man, he's already proven what he did. What he can do at that level.
Tickets for that particular game, Jim, were going between $4,000 and $15,000 for that game.
Yeah.
They had Barack Obama in the first row with his 44 bomber jacket on. I'm pretty sure he got his joint free, but
yeah, wear flex, but okay. But what I'm saying is, I just feel like at this point you have nothing to prove, and some people say he should be there with his teammates for the tournament. FOH. You gotta secure your future because all the same people saying that will be the same people on the other side of that argument if he tears his ACL in the NCAA tournament, saying that oh man he shouldn't have played, because
and then when he goes into the league at half strength and he's not playing like the Zion we know, everybody's gonna be quick to call him a bust. And I told you and this and that. So you know how that goes.
Yep.
Yeah,
so, I'm shutting it down. Shut him down. Chuck D voice.
I definitely think that Nike deserves it, JoJo, and here's why.
Chew it up.
A little bit of that is because he is 312 pounds and has a 48-inch vertical. I know he's not 312, but I'm gonna go up every time I say it.
He might be. He might be though.
Yo. I've never seen nothing like, but he's a defensive lineman size with safety athleticism, and it's like that's not normal. A shoe goes through more wear and tear. He put Shaq like wear and tear on shoes, and we know that guys like Shaq and NBA players get specially made shoes. Well, Nike, you got the money to trickle that down at this point to a prospect if you want to woo to wear your shoes anyway. So the whole Duke roster should have specialized shoes. That shouldn't be what goes on the shelf.
I don't know about that, B, but I did explain that to somebody today. I was like, I'm not that shocked that it happened because, you know, people were saying, well, we don't see this kind of stuff before. And, you know, when I brought up his weight, his height, and how he moves, somebody was like, well, LeBron James, this and that. Well, I was like, well, LeBron James, for the past 15 years, has had his own shoe, you know, his own shoe with Nike. When you get your own shoe, you know, and you help design it, they're going to make a shoe that basically fits your movements. It's going to fit your foot no matter how many other people buy it. That's probably why I think LeBron James' shoes are so uncomfortable, because he and I just have different feet. So,
well, first off,
when he signs a contract with a shoe company, I think, you know, they're going to tailor a shoe to his foot, to his movements and stuff like that. No doubt about it. That's why I'm like, I'm not shocked about this. I'd be shocked if it happened, you know, once he got his own shoe, because, you know, once they know what kind of movements he's going to do, they're going to reinforce the shoe in certain positions where they think his foot is vulnerable. But in college, I don't think – I mean, I know it's Duke. I know that's a high post program. But I don't think colleges are going to go out of their way to make specialized shoes for every little dude on a college team.
I'm not shocked because I've seen it happen up Gustine Lake in a pair of Nikes. I've seen this happen on the court before. Like this isn't like a rare thing. I guess it's rare to happen on that stage and to that kind of player. But I mean, it's not that it doesn't happen. Is my point. It happens.
And I heard he put on a dunk fest in the pregame, so it was a little more than 33 seconds of wear and tear. But yeah, I mean, I'm not taking up for Nike. Your shoes shouldn't be exploding after 33 seconds of play, but his joints just his whole leg came out the shoe, like his ankle was like hanging out the shoe.
Somebody check his family. Somebody probably was shorting Nike in the stock market, and they was like, "Yo, watch this."
Nah, they probably ain't pull themselves by them type of bootstraps. They ain't got no stock. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that, man. Most of the people that I've seen talk about it, they do believe that at this point, especially, that he should be shutting it down. Even people who didn't agree with it back when Scottie Pippen was saying it 3 weeks ago, they think at this point, okay, the what if did happen. So at this point, he has a very big decision to make. The kind of kid that he's proven to be, I have a feeling that he's going to want to be gung-ho and be out there with his team and all the stuff that, you know, B. Austin said he's going to be – that's what he's going to be about. But even I, at this point, think, I don't know, depending on what your family situation is, dude, you know, if you weren't, you know, if your family history is that of oppression, then – he probably should shut it down so he can get that bag for his family and pull everybody up by his Timberland straps. So what? I'm all in now. Quick birthday shout outs, man. Braylon Edwards turns 36. Oh, and I got this for B. He said Nike should get one. Make that feature.
Yo, that's for Braylon Edwards. That's for Braylon Edwards too.
Yeah, Braylon turns 36. Chad Hutchinson, 42. Stevie Franchise. Steve Francis turns 42. Alan Trammell, 61. Bob Ryan, 73, and R.I.P. to Jack Ramsey. Even though, you know, we're gonna talk to the homie again, but I can't leave my man Dave out of this. But B, it's not like we don't have experience in that too. We always talk about the stereotype, and I'm gonna throw the air quotes up for everybody who can't see me. The stereotype of Africans coming over here by choice and looking down on African Americans who were here not by choice and who through history has been, oppressed. So I'm not surprised by his opinions. We've heard them all before.
I'm gonna go a little further and make a distinction because I've encountered that from folks from that continent in general, but that particular area of the continent, a number of those that I've encountered, they don't even consider themselves black. So there's a little bit different. It's even a little bit different than dealing with somebody from Central Africa, South Africa, West Africa.
You think Bull did?
Yeah, dude doesn't consider. He ain't one of y'all.
All right, so y'all, did y'all hear? Oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, I don't. I wasn't on for the whole time to even hear where he's from or what have you. But I just know that you can't tell someone who has a certain experience not to feel how they feel or challenge what they've seen. Right? It's kind of what's going on in the world now with women like pretty much standing up for themselves. It's difficult for a man to tell them you shouldn't feel that way because X, Y, Z. I'm not a woman, so I can't tell a woman how to feel based upon her experience. I just can't do it. And it's disingenuous, and it's kind of what I appreciate dialogue, but at the same time, like you can't do that.
Yeah, Bull hijacked he hijacked the show like a 9/11 plane. Did y'all hear Dame Lillard? Did y'all hear his what he was basically saying in the midst of players forcing their way out to kind of super team up, force their way out on trades? Dame said in an interview, he said, "I do want to win championships, but it's other stuff that means more to me. It's almost like I'm not willing to sell myself out for that." I heard those comments and I immediately thought, like, uh-oh, Brian and KD, they're not gonna like this. It's gonna be some beef with Dame Lillard, whether we see it or not. But anybody understand where he's coming from? You agree with him? Not agree with him? Or y'all think he should just force his way out of Portland and go do something?
Anyone understand? We've been saying this for a decade and a half. Dame Lillard, my favorite player now from forever.
We've always disagreed with Jimmy, though. Jimmy, you think he should force his way out of Portland, get the hell out of there?
I mean, at the end of the day, Dame maybe said that because ain't nobody really asking him to come play with him. And he also, he also could be saying that because he's looking around and he realized that maybe he's stuck. Because didn't Dame get a contract already?
Dame does have a contract.
Yeah, so I feel.
Yeah, but so did Kyrie, so did Anthony Davis. So
yeah, that's true too. That's true.
They like, let's get up out of here.
Too. I mean, and he said a lot of things, because there were some people, like I know Savad actually mentioned this today, that felt like Dame is all about his numbers. He don't care about winning anyway. That's why he didn't really put up much of a fight when LaMarcus Aldridge left, because he wanted more shots, because Dame is about his numbers. So
I think
that when I hear him say things mean more to me than championships, like what else means more to you? Put up numbers?
Nah, he might just mean just trying to build something himself. I mean, it don't look like it's gonna work. He in a stacked Western Conference, but you know me, I don't have a problem with it at all. It's cool. Like I said, I always look at this from two different hats. You look at this from my black businessman hat, then I'm like, okay, y'all do what y'all do to control the power and all of that kind of stuff. More power to you. And then I look at it from like the competitive hat. And from my competitive hat, I have, I lose a little bit of respect for these dudes when they try to bolt their situation to, team up with other cats and stuff like that. But hey, it's what the league is doing now, man. We're not gonna stop it. It's just gonna get stronger.
It's funny. I sent a link in our chat about the new show that Kevin Durant has on ESPN Plus, which is how the ESPN drop another whole platform on us. Yeah, the Boardroom, which is hosted by Jason Williams. But so I watched his Breakfast Club interview and a couple other interviews on his media circuit promoting the show. And when someone goes on like a run, they kind of say this thing, and once in the blue they'll drop a new gym or something like that. But anyway, he said in one of those interviews, I can't remember which one it was, that he talks to players around the league like on a daily basis. He works with Kevin Durant, who put him as the host of the show. And he said there's like a whole new feeling in the league of business. Like guys are in the locker room now talking about business, about equity in companies, about ownership. Like the whole paradigm is shifting. And he says that KD and LeBron are to thank for a lot of that because that's what they talk about, and it kind of trickles down. And he's saying that a lot of these dudes now, when they talk about where they want to play, not that basketball is second, they still want to compete, but it is. Like, it's about what's going to make the business decision so they can start building these brands. And they, they're talking about, like, taking over companies and so on and so forth, to the point where their negotiations with the league will look a little different next time because players understand business more.
Right. And, Jim, that's what I fully agree with that. That's why I don't agree with the point Savai made earlier about Dame. I think Dame is just still, pure basketball dude. I think those other dudes are making, I think their brand, we talked about this a long time ago, their brand is probably the most important thing. So the chase for the championship, they want to make that as easy as possible. So I don't think, Dame didn't put up a fight because dude, he wanted more shots. Like, probably, LaMarcus ain't helping us do nothing anyway, so go ahead. But, I had a conversation with somebody today, and we were talking about LeBron and the first decision versus this decision. And the dude was telling me he thought it was a business decision both times. I was like, now, this one, the Lakers move, I'll give you business decision all day because it seems like it's obvious at this point. But there's nobody on earth who's going to convince me that the first decision to go to Miami was a business decision. That was, in my opinion, LeBron basically giving up because he was being considered the best player.
Well,
he was moving towards the GOAT conversation, and he knew that he wasn't going to get serious consideration without championships because the Jordan era put that kind of pressure on people.
I guess it depends upon how you look at it, right? Because I separate him going to Miami from the quote-unquote decision, right? Because to me, Miami wasn't the issue. The issue was the way he did it with the decision. That whole show, when you go through this whole song and dance. I do think that the televised part of the decision was a business move, and I think that
that was
the team learned from it. Yeah, because I felt like
the bad part was the business move.
They felt like we're gonna lessen the burden by trying to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club while we break the hearts of the whole city.
Wow, like publicly
they thought that was gonna work. Yeah, we're gonna poop on them, but we're gonna get some money for boys and girls while we do it, and that's gonna like lessen the burden of everything. So I think that was, and I think they like learned a lot about marketing and how to like put things out there from that point.
Exactly.
Now,
but Jim, let me tell you how you're kind of on the point that I was on. I was like, now I think because he said it was a business decision because it was about the players taking power. I'm like, I don't think that's where LeBron's head was then. I think it morphed into that because he realized what he did and what he started then, and players could now, have the power to take control of their own thing. So now he's all about that, and that's his plane. But I don't think the first time he did that was the intent. I think it morphed into that more so, and they became smarter businessmen from it.
It may have. I never know. I know that. And again, this is like, what are they supposed to say at that point? But I know that when it happened, like when Gabby was doing the point,
that's going to be the narrative. LeBron decided to take the power away. No,
I remember Gabby saying at the time when she was out, like promoting, getting throttled on BET. But she was when they asked her about like Dwayne and LeBron.
Banging Mary Jane.
She was going with the narrative. Yeah, even back then she was going with the narrative that like that was their decision together. Like we're going to take the power away. They're not going to tell us where to go. We're going to do what we want to do. Now, but my whole thing is, it's interesting to see how this is going to work moving forward. Because even when I listened to Jay Williams say that, I was like, that's interesting. Because one thing he said was some of the owners are recognizing it too. And one of the guests that they had on that show was like Steve Ballmer, and he said he's had conversations with him in terms of how these negotiations will go with the league and what are the owners going to do to combat it? Because the owners sit at their seat. Like, they want to squeeze as much as possible without giving away a lot. But now the players are recognizing their value. So it's just going to be interesting to see how things progress moving forward. Because he was saying there's not the star players now. You have, guys who sit on the bench or whatever, and they're talking about, equity, and they don't want, like, marketing endorsements anymore. Cats is recognizing their value. And, it's about time, but it's interesting to see how things are going to be moving forward. What's it going to do for these games, like these games of amusement? How's it going to affect it?
Yo, y'all man Beige Mama said that the Celtics are going to win the finals this year. For y'all that don't know, Beige Mama is Jason Tatum. After he won the skills contest on some amazing Golden Boy stuff, he got cocky and started saying that the Celtics are going to win the finals this year. Y'all believe him?
Absolutely.
Let's say you're correct.
Well,
let's say you're correct, Beige Mamba. I hope they do, and then they're going to trade you anyway.
I know, because they're going to win it with Anthony Davis next year. But anyway, first of all, Dave, I'm upset with you because I don't see your number on the switchboard no more. I mean, you hijacked the hour of the show and didn't even listen to the rest of the show. So if you're going to hijack an hour, you're going to have to at least support us for the rest of the show.
I don't even know where Dave come from. Is that Dave from our Facebook? No, that's not. That's African Dave.
No, it's a different Dave. But yeah, so 75% of our topics from the night, we're going to have to throw them back and talk about them at some other point. But yeah, we got like 10 seconds left, man. We got to get the hell out of here.
Hold on, you telling me how great this country is? You won't even use your real name. You're gonna take that recognized Dave name. Your name ain't no Dave. Anyway, yo word.